I think that's a good point. I mean, when you say be careful, what do you think then is missing from this entire really 2 year conversation when people are talking about Matthew Perry's death, when they're seeing that ketamine was involved? I mean, what do you think's missing here?
But one thing I would like to see is for professional organizations, for physicians to really set up clear protocols for what the diagnosis needs to look like, for what's appropriate administration. I've worked with many, many doctors around ketamine who are honestly confused about how long they can continue to give it to a patient, whether patients can use it. Remote from the doctor, like whether they need to have a health professional, a nurse, or a doctor present, or whether someone can watch them. Could they do it? Could it be done by telemedicine? And I really think the physicians, the problem is if the physician organizations don't set clear standards and you have a gray area, then law enforcement steps in. Usually it's state medical boards, but in this case, obviously in the extreme case where we have a tragedy, it's going to be criminal law enforcement and federal prosecutors. And so I think I would like to see the profession really address what's a safe usage and put out clear standards that would make life easier for both doctors and patients.
As you and I have talked about, this really seemed to be this web of bad actors who were all greedy and profited off of someone else's addiction. And Dr. P was the first of 5 defendants who pleaded guilty to charges in connection to Perry's death to be sentenced, and the others pleaded to guilty to various federal drug charges. And the defendant who faces the most jail time is someone who has the nickname the Ketamine Queen. She pleaded guilty to 5 charges, including 1 count of distribution of ketamine resulting in death or serious bodily injury, and she faces up to 65 years in prison. Does Dr. P's sentence give you any indication of how the other defendants are going to be charged?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think it's probably. I would expect that we're going to see a similar sentence for Mark Chavez. For Mark Chavez, the other doctor, and I think that Eric Fleming, who was kind of a courier, is going to also receive a fairly low sentence. I do think. Jasmine Sangva, as her nickname suggests, the Ketamine Queen, was really proud of her drug dealer role. And I do think a very strong message is going to be sent. She did supply the actual ketamine that killed Perry. And I do think Kenny Iwazima also, the live-in manager who was supposed to be taking care of and shepherding Perry to protect him, and who really clearly operated as a sort of helper in all of the dangerous behavior that killed him, is also more at risk. I think the two of them just had the most. They were the true actors at the end of the causal chain that led to Perry's death, and I think they were the most other than Placencia, the most irresponsible, and so I do think we're going to see tougher sentences in those cases. But the other argument, if I'm wrong, I might be wrong. We've seen that doctors are typically held to a higher responsibility. So maybe even though their conduct was worse, the fact that they weren't licensed health professionals might give them a little bit of a break in the eyes of the court.
Well, as we see these other sentences being handed down, I hope you can come back on and react and see if you were, you gave both sides of the coin here, so you were probably right on either one. So I'm excited to continue the conversation further. Harry Nelson, thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome back anytime.
Brittany, thanks. It was a pleasure.